and thank you for joining us. I am Imani Beckles with the Side DeKalb Development Authority. I'm the Business Retention and Expansion Manager. We all know that DeKalb businesses are vibrant, booming, thriving. And today I have the pleasure of sitting with some of our amazing Black businesses that are the heartline of our very beautiful county. And at this time, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Mr. Moody.
Hello, how you doing? And my name is Charles David Moody Jr. I go by David, and I am the founder and CEO of C.D. Moody Construction Company. And I've been living in DeKalb since 1984, and my business has been located in DeKalb since 1987.
We love it. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Dunnings.
My name is Andrea Dunnings. I've been practicing veterinary medicine for almost 30 years. I opened my practice in DeKalb County in 2002, so this is our 20th year of operation.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us. Mr. Cornell.
Yes, I am Cornell McBride, the president of McBride Research Laboratories. We're the founders of the Design Essentials hair care line. And wow, I have been in DeKalb County since 1976, right? So I've been in this county for quite some time, basically raised in the county, went to high school, Southwest DeKalb. You know, that's where I graduated from high school. So I've been here for a minute. Entire family's been in the DeKalb County community.
Okay. And last but not least, Miss Lisa Bob.
Hello, I'm Lisa Bob. I'm the owner of Squash Blossom Boutique. We are a primarily women's clothing, jewelry, shoe, accessory boutique located in the very heart of downtown Decatur on the square. And the store has actually been there since '99. So we're in our 23rd year. But I became the proud owner in 2015. So it's been about 7 years for me in business in DeKalb County.
All right, perfect. And to kick it off and kind of help the flow, I'm going to let you answer our first question. And if you guys remember the order we went, just go in reverse and then we'll do it back and forth that way. And the first question that I wanted to ask each of you is, can you tell us about your business and what you do?
That's easy. Sure. So it's me. So I, as I mentioned, am primarily a women's clothing boutique, traditional clothing boutique, brick and mortar. We offer gift items, items for the home, a small section for men. And people come into my store when they're looking for something unique. I specialize in just a lot of pieces that you wouldn't find at the mall, you know, in an everyday, you know, large big box store. So really specialty pieces, catering to women really of all ages, from, you know, in their 20s up until their 70s and 80s. So we have a very diverse clientele. And we offer some very cool accessories for men. So I'm starting to get a following from our men as well. But I always tell men, every one of you has at least one woman in your life who deserves a gift. So come on in and you can be our customer too.
That is great. I love that. So timeless pieces is what we can find there.
Yes.
Okay. And then Cornell.
Oh, it's me. I'm sorry. Yes. Let's see here. So name of our company is McBride Research Laboratories. And what we do is we make hair care products for African-American consumers based on texture. So if you're curly, coily, or want to wear your hair straight, we offer all solutions. We started the company in 1990. The origin of our brand was really on the professional side or the salon side. That's how we originally built the company, by building a distribution network to service and promote and to educate salons. And over the years, as the company and the brand expanded, we expanded internationally as long as expanded into retail. And so now the brand is not only in the professional space in most major chain salons throughout the country, independent salons, independent schools, but it's also in most major retailers as well as Europe, Africa, and the Caribbean.
Okay. And y'all have that like little serum. It smells so amazing. It's like for the heat protectant or the
Yes.
finisher, top tier. I love it. So
Thanks.
with that, Dr. Dunning, I'm gonna let you talk about the animal clinic.
So I am the founder of East Atlanta Animal Clinic and owner, and we are located in East Atlanta Village. We provide traditional veterinary medicine and surgery for dogs and cats, but we also pride ourselves on being able to offer alternative therapies. So we have a couple of doctors that are certified in veterinary acupuncture. We also have an assistant who is certified in canine massage. We also offer cold laser therapy because we believe in more of a holistic approach to animal care. It's not just traditional diagnostics and therapeutics.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that if you're able to provide alternative therapies as well, then your ultimate success is your potential for ultimate successful outcomes is higher. So we really do try to keep ahead of the crowd, so to speak, with being innovative in our therapeutic approach to pet care. But our big focus also is on client communication, because we do believe that the more informed a pet parent is, the more likely they are to make the best possible healthcare decisions for their fur babies that they can.
Okay, thank you for that.
And I'm going to have to get in touch with you, Doc, because our daughter dropped off her Frenchie to us 11 months ago. There was only supposed to be a couple of months. So my wife and I are now back in the dog business. We had one for 17 and a half years. So I'm looking forward to letting my wife know I have found us a new vet and we're going to use you. So this is already paid off. So that's great. Like I said, we started our construction company in 1987. We're a commercial contractor. We did the Mercedes-Benz Stadium as partners. We've done a lot of schools. We've done a lot of work at Morehouse. We did the Cyclorama at the Atlanta History Center, Ray Charles Performing Arts Center at Morehouse. We're doing work in 4 states now. And so it's a labor of love for me. I wanted to do this since I was a kid. I actually thought I was going to be an architect, and I went to architecture school after Morehouse. After I graduated from Morehouse, I went to Howard and got my degree in architecture. Started my career in the nuclear power business as an architect. I took a field assignment and fell in love with the noise and the action and said, you know what, I'd rather build. And also when I was an architect, that was before desktop computers. You actually had to draw all day. So I got in that field and realized that's what suited me best. So in 1983, 1981, I decided construction was more for me than architecture. So I always have a saying, you know, there's a difference between quitting and changing directions. I just changed directions and took my architecture knowledge into construction. And what I'm excited about now in the business is I'm getting the next generation of people ready to take the business over, and they can put me out to pasture soon. So that's what I'm enjoying, to know that I'm grooming a group of young African Americans in the construction industry to take over and put the old man out to pasture and let me just come by every now and then.
I'm sure they truly appreciate it too. And that segues me into our next question. DeKalb County is ever evolving. And could you let us know what led you all to pick DeKalb County as your home for your business?
Sure, does that start? Sure. Well, I've been living here since 76, and it was a very easy decision because the commute from home to the office is like 10 minutes, right? So when I live in DeKalb County off of Browns Mill Road. My father, my parents, we live basically in the same area off of Browns Mill Road. Our office is right here on Panola. So we never have to get on the interstate. So it's very easy for us. And we started the process of looking for a place for this particular business. We looked right here at Snapfinger Industrial Park because it was right down the street. So I'm sorry I don't have anything more exciting than that, other than number 1 on the list, and number 2 and 3 on the list was the commute.
No, absolutely. That is literally for us to hear of people homegrown and staying in DeKalb, that's what DeKalb County prides itself on, is that we can keep our talent and they can thrive here. So I thank you for that. And I'll turn it over to whomever else would like to jump in.
As the old head, I'll jump in real quick. I kind of did like McBride, which was my commute is 600 yards as the crow flies. So, I mean, until about 8-9 years ago, I didn't have a stoplight. So I can walk to the office. I ride my bike sometime, but I drive most of the time because it's so easy. But we moved into cab in 1984, and we have lived within two miles of our original house in Main Street. And I just love it. I've always loved it. And I love going to Stone Mountain Park and the other parks here in DeKalb. And it was about the commute for me also. I bought an old farmhouse on 4.5 acres and renovated it and added on over the years. And I just love it. And so it was commute and convenience and services for me.
I love it. You're highlighting that DeKalb County is a place you could live, play, and work.
Yep.
Well, mine was a little bit of a different path. I used to work in Buckhead before I opened this practice, and I had several clients who lived in this area, and they kept telling me, you know, we wish we didn't have to drive so far to take our pet to the doctor. We really would love it if someone opened a practice in our local area. And when I decided to leave my practice, I did a lot of demographic studies in different areas. I am an Atlanta native, but I grew up in Southwest Atlanta. And so I just did demographics primarily, you know, south of the I-20 line and west and east included, and ended up in this particular spot because to me, it was the best of both worlds. It was close enough to Atlanta that I could still draw from my Atlanta base, but I also was serving those residents of DeKalb that were, you know, getting in the car and driving a further distance to seek veterinary care. So I actually made the decision once I found the appropriate site, and it's been all good ever since.
I love to hear that.
So, I mean, the decision was sort of made for me. I purchased an existing business that happened to be, you know, in the heart of downtown Decatur, and I've gotten to learn about the county and the services. And the thing I will say about, you know, what's kind of kept me and what I love about it, maybe instead of exactly what your question was, would be, you know, accessibility. I think that I feel that I'm valued and I have access to the people, the movers and shakers of the county and the people that run the county. And I feel as a business inside DeKalb County that I matter. And I can get my needs met. I can ask questions. I can really be a part. I don't think there's that same feeling across Moreland Avenue in Fulton County. I'll just be honest.
That's a true statement.
I was going to say, I'm a little biased, but if you all on the call are saying it, then I'll agree. How could a host not agree with the crowd? I love it.
Yeah. And I actually have a store in Fulton County in Atlanta as well, which I opened 4 years ago. And, you know, that's all I can say about Fulton County.
There's no place like home. That's okay. That's what you're saying.
I have a store in Fulton County. That's all I can say about the county.
Okay. So with Lisa saying she has a story, I did want to ask you all if you would discuss one success story about being a business in DeKalb County. So it's perfect. I love the way that this is flowing. And Lisa, if you don't mind, will you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. I have a great story, a great success story, and it is about community and the definition of community. And Mr. Moody knows what I'm talking about here because we both participated in the Dancing with the DeKalb Stars a few years back.
Oh, could you tell them who won?
Well, you know, I remember I was first runner up.
But could you tell them who won? Don't y'all go to sleep on old people, god doggy. We can get down.
Yes, Mr. Moody took the prize, but I will say I took the prize, the what I consider to be the more important prize, which was the People's Choice Award. And why I say it's more important is because it represented a fundraising goal that was not just me going to my rich friends and saying, give me thousands of dollars, but it was me appealing to all of my customers in my store. And it represented over 300 people just chipping in, you know, $1 here, $5 here, $50 there. And we had over 300 people participate in my fundraising effort. And to just back up a little bit, the Dancing with the Cab Stars is a fundraiser hosted by the Solicitor General's office. And it's targeted at supporting the Women's Resource Center to end domestic violence. So all of the funds raised went towards women in crisis in our community. And I felt, as owner of a women's clothing boutique, you know, what better kind of conduit is there to have like women supporting women and getting the word out. And my community really heeded the call, and they put their money up, and we together won. And I mean, I love that story, and it warms my heart every time I tell it, every time I think about it. And you know, that's the kind of magic that happens in DeKalb County.
Thank you for that. Well, it sounds like we had an all-star winner on this call as well. Mr. Moody, would you please give us your story?
Well,
and does it involve dancing?
No, you know, for me, it's always been working with the school system, the CAB school system. You know, my kids, you know, went to neighborhood school from kindergarten through 12th grade. And I remember people used to say to me, man, you don't send your kids to a private school. There's nothing wrong with private school. Don't get me wrong. I just said, this is my neighborhood. They're going to go to school in the neighborhood, because if they miss the bus, it take me 5 minutes to take them to school. You know, I'm not going to be driving no hour and all that. Plus, I said, that's where their friends are. And I learned very early, because both my parents were educators. If you're involved in the local school where your kids go, it's like going to a private school, because they're so happy to have parents engaged. And so it was great. So I for me, it's working and trying to inspire other young people to go into careers that is helpful. But also, I think what I enjoy the most, I speak up about being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And I kept that secret for decades. So I speak up a lot in trying to help people turn trauma into triumph. That, you know, regardless of what we've been through, we all will be knocked to our knees, but we are so much stronger than we realize. So for me, is when I get a chance to speak or involved in anything that's going to help people become awesome and deal, you know, to help them know it's okay to get therapy. You're not weak. There's nothing wrong with you. And I try and show that I've been, you know, through a very tough time with a childhood trauma, but I want them to see we can still have incredible lives and have a lot of fun. You know, I'm 65, but I tell folks all the time, I will age, but I'll never become old. And that's the difference. So for me, the CAB gives me a lot of opportunities to get out and help others and share my story to hopefully inspire others who feel that, you know, their broken life's over. I mean, recently we've seen so many people committing suicide, young people, and the young lady who was Miss USA, and Jeff Parker and Martin, you know, so Regina King's son, and then the other actor's son, Mike Madsen, I think, just within a week. And that just reinforces why I share my story about mental health and dealing, you know, I dealt with anxiety and panic attacks from a trauma. And I enjoyed getting that opportunity in DeKalb County to go out and try and help and speak and inspire others to not give up.
Thank you for sharing that with us, the transparency, your light that you have in the county. It is so much appreciated. Dr. Dunnings, if you want to give us one of your success stories about being in business in DeKalb, and then we'll turn it back over to Mr. McBride.
So it's a little hard to follow up after Mr. Moody with that story because that was very inspiring. I have two stories that I will share, one of which is related to DeKalb Animal Shelter. And this was back maybe a year or two after I opened. The person who ran the shelter at the time used to be a client of mine from the clinic that I worked at in Buckhead. And they had an outbreak of an infectious disease, kennel cough, and they could not get a handle on it. And they really didn't have any veterinary services available to them. And she reached out to me after she heard that I'd opened the practice here and asked me if I would come and help in any way possible. And I did. I took off for an afternoon that day that she called me and went out there and examined the facility and examined the pets and walked them through things that they could do to, increase their quarantine and isolation and disinfection control processes. And then continue to follow up with medication for the ill animals. And I even instructed their staff on how to properly handle the pets to try to decrease the spread of infection. And it took a couple of days, but we were able to get it under control. And to this day, it's one of those fond memories that I have because it literally was, working in the trenches and making sure that pets were getting healthy, which was good. The second story that I'll share is when I opened my practice, I actually had a loan from the City Development Authority. And as a part of that loan requirement, I had to make sure that 25% of my workforce came from underprivileged areas and, communities with a low minimum threshold of income. And not only did I keep that commitment the 7 years that I had to repay that loan, but to this date, approximately 70% of my staff live in DeKalb County. So I like to think that over the course of 20 years, I've helped to have some sort of helpful economic impact on the immediate surrounding community.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. I've been trying to rack my brain about success stories. I think one that comes to mind is probably back in 20 when we were all kind of going through the situation with COVID and business on lockdown, right? And we were trying to determine if we were an essential business or not. But what happened was there was a rallying in the community. So we're over in Snapfinger Industrial Park. And some of us start rallying around one another, work very closely with Interprint. So we do business with Interprint, but it was different during this time, right? To where we were like talking on the phone like every other day, trying to understand the rules, trying to understand the regulations. We needed some support within our business, something that they were not doing. And then they needed to use their people, right? Because their people are idle, right? So we ended up working together. We're giving them this additional work to allow them to use their capacity. And so I think back about how not only that happened, but as they were like getting information about things that you can do in reference to COVID, whether it's EIDL funds and things of that nature, the fact that, they were willing to pass that along and the way we were willing to kind of work together as a team. And that had not happened prior to COVID. Prior to COVID, I sent some print stuff over there, we'd do business. That was the extent of it. But it was almost like we were all in the same boat. That's what it felt like, amongst different people in the community, but specific with Interprint, because we were all in the same boat, we kept trying to help one another out. And that kind of sticks with me, how during those times, how we were able to help them with their labor and give them some capacity, and how they were able to help us. And so that's what I remember the most, is that there are businesses here that during tough times, they tend to kind of stand up and look out for one another.
Thank you. Each of you all have very unique and individual stories when it comes to your business and your love for the county and your success in the county. And I think there's a lot of knowledge that could be shared and a wealth of advice that could go around. So in closing, I would just like for you all to share a little something for an entrepreneur or somebody currently doing business in our county that maybe you wish that somebody had shared with you in starting, or maybe now, whatever it is that you'd love to share on this call. There are gems that you guys have given this whole time. So please, if there's anything else to add.
Okay. I'll start. I mean, a lot of times when we always ask questions about business or that one type of thing, it always starts with money at the end of the day. You know, it's just kind of how to get funded. What do you need to do? So I always say to individuals where possible, right, is that, you know, that is the biggest hurdle in business is funding. And so when you want to get started, it's tough because a lot of times we have an idea, right? But it's good to have an idea and put the idea to pencil and paper, meaning understanding what is required to actually sustain that business for the first 3 to 5 years, right? How much cash do you have set aside? And the biggest thing to understand is I have my personal bills. How much money do I have to pay my personal bills sitting aside so I do not have to extract from the business? And if I go 6, 8, 9, 10 months without having to extract from the business and allow the business to kind of mature and to develop before I have to kind of, before I need it for any funds, that's would be one of the first thing that I would advise, because the minute that you are struggling, the minute that you're having financial issues in your business, it changes the way in which you think. It changes the way in which you do business. So it makes it more difficult to stay focused on your strategy and achieving the goals of the business, because in the back of your mind, it's always about paying the bill, right? And then when you're making the decision about paying the bill, it impacts it has a long-term impact on the business and its success and the strategy that you're trying to put forth. So I say with anyone just starting business in general, is you can have the right amount of money set aside where you do not need to extract money from that business. And if you can just pay yourself for 12 months exclusive of the business, if you had at least that much money set aside, I think it's a good start, because the biggest thing with most business is always money. It's always capital. It's always having the right amount of funding. But if you plan accordingly, that you would definitely have a successful business. I think there are a lot of great ideas in business, right? So to me, it's not the idea, it's not the strategy. Normally it's the execution and the money. That's normally what it boils down to. It's definitely not the idea or the strategy. So I would say if you can kind of do that and plan accordingly, that you would have a successful business in the county.
Okay.
I'll jump in and say, I think it's really important to build and grow and nourish your network. So, you know, no matter what it is you're trying to do, you know, there's probably someone who's done something adjacent, you know, if not done the exact same thing before, they've done something adjacent. There's something you can learn from another business owner inside the county, whether it's, you know, getting access to resources that you may not have known were available to you, or getting tactics and strategies. Most business owners are willing to share. I mean, you might think, well, this is my, you know, competition or what have you, but I feel like the pie is big enough for all of us to get our pieces. And I'm always willing, and I've always come across other business owners that are willing to share and just give information freely. So my advice to somebody getting started is, you know, leverage the fact that you are in a county of your neighbors, of your peers, of your, you know, like-minded individuals, and get to know them, and they will help you.
Okay.
I will jump in here, because both of those speak very closely to my story. I agree with Mr. Cornell that funding is absolutely important. And back when I was in veterinary school, we didn't get much education on practice management, let alone how to start a practice from the ground up. And when I went to seek funding, I was initially turned down by a bank. And they quite honestly told me that if I were trying to open up a hair salon or a daycare, then I could absolutely get the money that I wanted. But because I was trying to open up a veterinary clinic, they didn't believe in my business model, even though veterinarians have one of the highest success rates, according to SBA data amongst amongst medical professionals. So that was a slap in the face. And when you're trying to start something from the ground up and you already are limited with your own financial resources, when I finally got funding, it was a fight for the first 2 years, making sure that I could sustain myself personally and my family personally and still keep the business going. And the second part of this piece, to which Ms. Bob referenced, is that it's very important for you to have a network of people who are for you, because not everyone will be for you. And my example with that is I had a pharmaceutical rep come in and do my opening order for an exorbitant amount of product that I never needed at that particular time. But I trusted her because she was well known in the industry and she, had all these clinics in the metro area. And as opposed to just getting on the phone and calling a colleague, I went with her suggestion. And as a result, it took me 6 months longer to pay that opening order off than it should have if I had ordered appropriately. So knowing who you can call when you need advice, having a supportive network, having resources and utilizing those resources are very, very important. I will also say that, DeKalb County resources are much easier to attain and much more business friendly than my experience with the city, if I can be politically correct. And that is something that can be daunting if you're a young business owner. So you just have to keep believing in yourself. You have to keep your support system around you, help them or get help when you need it, and make sure that you stay lifted up. And also, have your financial package in order, because you can't do your business any good if you're struggling personally. So, do what you have to do to get those personal finances ready before you step out and open that door. Otherwise, you could be setting yourself up for some difficult times.
And I will, being in business, be 35 years in a few months as I've been an entrepreneur. And a couple of things people didn't tell me that I don't know if I would have believed them anyway. You no longer have your own life anymore once you get your first employee on the team, because you're now, every decision you make will determine if that person eats, will that person be able to pay their rent. And as you build a business and grow, even though I take off, I take vacations and stuff like that, you never turn it off, because you're always thinking about, especially in the early years or tough years, all right, got to make payroll, got to pay this, do I have enough clients? Is it going to make it? Will I fail? People are dependent on me. And, did this project go well? What could I have done better? And also I'm in a business where you eat what you kill. You're constantly hunting, because when a project's done, that person might not never do another project. So it's different than reoccurring income type projects. You got to have your financing. It's important that if you're married, that your spouse is truly supportive of you. One of the things I did very early, I made a conscious decision that my family came first. So I never used my business as an excuse to say, well, I got to work late because I just didn't want to go home and deal with little kids and stuff like that. My wife went back to school, became a registered nurse, and became a hospice nurse, and worked the weekends and nights. So one of us was always home with the kids, and then we had a steady income in the early years in the business. my kids' senior year in high school, I made them breakfast every day because I wanted them to just talk to dad. They're 2 years apart. I made all their school events. I coached on the weekend. So I made a conscious decision that I would never use my business as an excuse not to be a good father and a good husband. And it takes a lot of work because as an entrepreneur, people really don't understand the stress and strain it takes to be an entrepreneur. I didn't realize it's on you, you know, and I got people who've worked with me for over 25 years. And sometimes I think about, man, they've put kids through college, they've done this, they've done that, based on an idea I had 35 years ago to start a business. And people often ask me, what is my favorite project or greatest project? And I always tell them it's not a building. The fact that I never missed a payroll or was late with a payroll for 35 years, that means more to me than anything now. I didn't realize that until much later in life. The fact that you never missed a payroll or was late with a payroll, that's an entrepreneur. And the other thing that I came to realize is small and mid-sized companies that is truly the backbone of this country. And I think about all the young folks I've hired from the cab and older folks from the cab, and it's just a great feeling knowing you're impacting lives. But when you're in the heat of trying to build a business, you don't see all that. You just try to make ends meet. You just, you know, for me, when I started my business, I was just like, Lord, don't let me fail too soon that I look like a fool, you know. And before I knew it, 35 years had gone by. So that's my advice is don't give up. You're going to get knocked to your knees, pick yourself up, but be good at what you do. Don't be afraid to say no. Every client's not a good client. And do your best and always do it the right way and always stand on the right side of truth and stand up for what's right and what's fair. And often when you're an entrepreneur, especially in the early years, you tend to let people take advantage of you or push you around because you need the business or you don't want to seem difficult, but you got to be fair and firm that you're treated fairly too. You treat people fairly, but also demand respect and you give respect, and good things that happen for you. And don't give up because you're going to want to quit. I've wanted to quit over the years because it's just stressful, but I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't trade it in. And it's worth it if you can see it through.
Wow. I mean, this conversation has really been a breath of fresh air and a joy to be around. The four of you truly encompass what I believe DeKalb County stands for. And you're a testament to the support, the growth, and putting in hard work and what it can come of it. I really thank you all for being a part of our inaugural Look at Us Black History Month Black Business Spotlight. You could have been anywhere else this evening and you took the time to share what you know and talk about the county and that you're in. And I thank you so, so much.